I thought my wife snapping at me on my birthday was as bad as it could get. But then I saw the message that changed everything. What I found out next, about Preston, the house documents, and my own daughter, made me realize I wasn't just losing my wife. I was about to lose everything I'd built my life around. My name is William Morgan. I'm 42 years old, and I work as an IT manager for TechFlow Solutions in Denver. 3 weeks ago, I believed I had life all figured out. A beautiful wife of 15 years, a 12-year-old daughter named Amelia, who still gave me a hug before bed, and a job that paid for our comfortable suburban home. But I was wrong about it all. It started on my birthday. I'd taken the afternoon off to surprise Priscilla with a homemade dinner and her favorite wine. Amelia was at soccer practice, so I thought we'd have a quiet evening together. I even picked up one of those fancy chocolate cakes from the downtown bakery, the kind she used to bake herself when we were younger. I was lighting the candles when she came through the front door. Her heels hit the hardwood like gunfire, and I could tell right away something wasn't right. She dropped her purse by the entryway and didn't even glance in my direction. "Hey, honey," I called from the dining room. "Perfect timing. I made your favorite pasta, Anne." "Are you kidding me right now?" Priscilla snapped, turning to face me. Her tone was sharp, furious, as if I'd done something unforgivable just by being there. "What is all this? The candles, the wine, the setup?" I stood there holding the lighter, completely caught off guard. "It's my birthday, Pri. I thought we could have a nice dinner together." "Your birthday?" she repeated, like the words themselves left a bad taste. "So you decided to play house, to pretend everything's fine? Do you even know what kind of day I've had?" The accusation hit like a slap. I set the lighter down carefully, trying to steady my voice. "I'm sorry you had a rough day. I just wanted to." "You wanted to what, William? Fix everything with pasta and wine?" She laughed bitterly. "You think you can just wave a magic wand and make life perfect again? It doesn't work that way." I watched her face as she spoke, and something changed. Maybe it was the way my shoulders dropped or how I stopped meeting her eyes. Maybe she realized this was supposed to be a celebration, not another argument. Her anger faded in an instant, replaced by something close to panic. "Wait," she said softly. "I didn't mean it like that. I'm just stressed from work. I love you, William. You know I do." She stepped closer, reaching for my hand, but I pulled back slightly. The moment had already been broken, and we both felt it. "Of course," I said quietly. "I know." But standing there in that candlelit dining room, surrounded by the dinner I'd spent hours preparing, I realized I didn't know anything at all. That night, I couldn't sleep. Priscilla went to bed early, saying she had a headache, but I heard her phone buzzing on the nightstand every few minutes. Each vibration sent a jolt through my nerves. Around midnight, I got up for a glass of water and noticed her phone light up again. I caught just a glimpse of the screen, but it was enough. The name Preston flashed across the top. Preston, a name I'd never heard before. The next morning, Priscilla was already gone when I woke. She'd left a note on the counter saying she had an early meeting with potential investors. Her coffee mug was still warm, a faint lipstick mark on the rim. "Dad, where's Mom?" Amelia asked as she bounced into the kitchen, her backpack hanging from one shoulder. "She had to leave early for work, sweetheart," I told her, pouring cereal into her bowl. "I'll drive you to school today." "Cool. Can we stop by Starbucks?" She grinned, and for a moment, life felt normal again. But as I drove her to school, my mind kept circling that name, Preston. Seeing that message pop up so late at night bothered me more than I wanted to admit. "Dad, you're being weird," Amelia said from the passenger seat. "What do you mean?" I asked, glancing at her in the rearview mirror. "You keep gripping the steering wheel like you're trying to strangle it." "Smart kid. Too smart sometimes. Just thinking about work stuff," I lied. "Is everything okay with you and Mom? You guys have been acting strange lately." I pulled into the school parking lot and turned to face her. "Everything's fine, Mel. Your mom and I are just dealing with some grown-up stress. Nothing for you to worry about." She nodded but didn't look convinced. "Okay, but if you ever need to talk, I'm a pretty good listener." After dropping her off, I sat in the car for 10 minutes staring at my phone. I could have called Priscilla, asked her about Preston right then. That's what the old me would have done. The trusting husband who believed in honest communication. Instead, I drove to work and spent the day pretending to focus on server updates and security protocols. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw that glowing screen in the dark. When I got home that evening, Priscilla was already in the kitchen cooking dinner as if nothing had ever happened. She smiled, kissed me on the cheek, and asked how my day went. How was your investor meeting? I asked, testing the waters. Exhausting, she said smoothly. These startup guys all think they're marketing geniuses. She was lying. I could tell by the way she kept her eyes on the sauce, stirring it like it was the most important thing in the world. It was the same recipe she'd made hundreds of times, yet suddenly it needed her full concentration. That night, after she fell asleep, I did something I never imagined I would. I quietly picked up her phone from the nightstand and tried to unlock it. Password protected, of course. But as I set it back down, it buzzed in my hand. Another message from Preston. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. My stomach dropped. Tomorrow was Saturday, family day, the one day Priscilla always swore she never scheduled meetings. Saturday morning carried the weight of unspoken suspicion. Priscilla left the house around 9, saying she was meeting her wellness consultant about a new company program. She kissed my cheek, smiling like everything was normal. Preston's supposed to be amazing with stress management, she said casually, fixing her makeup in the hallway mirror. My jaw tightened. She said his name like it meant nothing, but I knew better. Where's this meeting again? I asked, keeping my tone even. Downtown. Some coffee shop near his office, she replied. After she left, I made a decision the old version of me never would have. I was going to follow her. I dropped Amelia off at a friend's house for a sleepover, saying I had errands to run. Then I drove downtown and parked across from the coffee shop Priscilla mentioned. 20 minutes later, she arrived, and she wasn't alone. The man with her was tall, fit, probably about my age. He wore a stylish jacket and had the kind of confidence that came from getting his way too often. As they entered, he placed a hand on the small of her back. They sat by the window, talking, smiling, leaning close. I watched for an hour. They laughed, touched hands across the table, and shared the kind of looks that had nothing to do with business. At one point, she showed him something on her phone, and he took a photo of them together. This wasn't a meeting. It was a date. When they finally got up to leave, Preston pulled Priscilla close and kissed her cheek. Not a polite goodbye, but something intimate, possessive. I followed them to the parking garage, staying far enough not to be seen. They stood between their cars for nearly 10 minutes, speaking quietly. I couldn't hear the words, but I didn't need to. Their body language told me everything. My wife of 15 years, the mother of my daughter, was having an affair with a wellness consultant named Preston Wade. The drive home was a blur. I kept trying to come up with an innocent explanation. Maybe it wasn't what it looked like. Maybe I'd misinterpreted. But when Priscilla came home 2 hours later, she was glowing. Her cheeks flushed, her smile genuine for the first time in weeks. How was your meeting? I asked. Productive, she replied, avoiding my eyes. Preston has some really interesting ideas about work-life balance. I bet he did. That Sunday night, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them together, laughing, touching, sharing secrets I was no longer part of. By Monday morning, I made another decision the old me would have hated. I was going to bug our bedroom. I still had an old digital recorder from when I'd thought about starting a podcast 5 years ago. Small, high quality, long battery life. While Priscilla was at work, I hid it beneath her jewelry box on the dresser. If she ever called Preston, or worse, if he came to our house, I'd know. The waiting was agony. Tuesday and Wednesday passed without anything unusual, just ordinary small talk about Amelia's school and weekend plans. But Thursday changed everything. I was reviewing the previous night's recording when I heard her voice, soft, secretive. I can't keep doing this, Preston, she whispered. William's starting to ask questions. A man's voice replied, Preston's. Then maybe it's time to move to the next phase. What do you mean? I mean it's time to tell him the truth. We've been planning this for months. The house papers are nearly ready. House papers? My chest went cold. I know, but Amelia, Priscilla hesitated. We'll adjust. Kids are resilient, he said. Once we're in Colorado Springs, she'll love the new school. Colorado Springs. They were planning to move and take my daughter with them. What if he fights for custody? She asked, her voice trembling. Preston laughed, a cold, cruel sound that made my skin crawl. With what lawyer? You've been transferring money to our account for 6 months. He won't be able to afford one. Our account. She'd been stealing from our family to fund their new life together. You're right, she sighed, relief flooding her tone. God, I can't wait until this is over. I'm tired of pretending to love him. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. tired of pretending to love him. How long had our entire marriage been a lie? Just a few more weeks, Preston said calmly. Then we'll have everything we need to start over. I stopped the recording and sat in my car, hands trembling. They weren't just having an affair, they were planning to destroy my life completely. To take my daughter, drain my finances, and leave me with nothing. But they'd made one critical mistake. They'd underestimated me. I wasn't the same naive man who believed in trust and communication anymore. I was a father whose family was being stolen, and I was done playing the fool. The next morning, I called in sick and drove to the downtown public library. I couldn't risk using my home computer if Priscilla was monitoring my searches. I needed to learn everything about Preston Wade. What I found made my blood boil. Preston wasn't just some wellness expert. He was a predator. His LinkedIn profile showed a pattern of getting close to married women in corporate settings. His last job had ended abruptly 2 years ago. A deeper dive into old news articles revealed a harassment complaint settled quietly out of court. The woman who'd filed it? Married. With kids. Just like Priscilla. I spent 3 hours gathering everything. Photos, articles, employment records, printing copies of every piece of dirt I could find. Then I drove across town to a small electronics shop. I need a voice-activated recorder, I told the clerk. Something small, long battery life. Spy-level reliable. The kid behind the counter smirked. I've got just what you need. I left with 2 recorders, one for the car, one as backup. If Preston and Priscilla were meeting again, I'd capture every word. That evening, during dinner, Amelia noticed my distraction. Dad, you've been stabbing that chicken for like 5 minutes, she teased. Did it offend you or something? Priscilla laughed lightly, but the sound was strained. Your father's just stressed about a project at work. Actually, I said, meeting her eyes. I've been thinking we should take a family trip soon. Maybe Colorado Springs. I've heard it's beautiful this time of year. Her fork slipped from her hand and clattered onto the plate. Colorado Springs? Why would you want to go there? I've heard good things, I said casually. Nice schools. Great views. The color drained from her face. She mumbled something about taking a call and left the table. From the next room, I could hear her whispering frantically. 20 minutes later, she returned, saying she needed to run out for milk. I followed her. She drove straight to a 24-hour diner on the outskirts of town. Preston was there, leaning against his car like he owned the place. I parked behind a semi-truck, activated the recorder, and rolled my window down just enough to catch their voices. He knows something, Priscilla said, panic lacing her tone. He mentioned Colorado Springs at dinner. Preston placed his hands on her shoulders. Calm down. There's no way he could know about the house. What if he's been listening to our calls? What if? Then we move up the timeline. Preston interrupted firmly. I'll have the papers ready by Friday. We can get you and Amelia out of there by the weekend. Don't worry, the money transfers are clean. Untraceable. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight it hurt. They were planning to take my daughter. What about William? Priscilla asked quietly. Preston chuckled coldly. What about him? By the time he figures it out, you'll already be in another state, legally separated. He can see Amelia on weekends. If he behaves, like I was some kind of misbehaving pet. I'd heard enough. I had every word on tape. Proof of their affair, their financial theft, and their plan to take my child. But as I drove home, it hit me that evidence alone wasn't enough anymore. It was time to fight back. Friday morning, I took another sick day and drove to the law offices of Turner and Black Associates. I'd already researched them. They were known for their aggressive family law work. Sarah Turner, a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s with steel-gray hair, listened carefully as I laid out everything. The recordings, the bank statements, the evidence of Preston's past. Mr. Morgan, she said after reviewing the files, you've been very thorough. This is a clear case of adultery, financial fraud, and attempted parental kidnapping. What can we do? I asked. Quite a lot, she replied. We can freeze all joint accounts immediately, file for emergency custody of your daughter, and serve your wife with divorce papers before she realizes what's happening. How soon? I can have the paperwork ready by Monday. But, Mr. Morgan, are you sure you want to go nuclear? This will end any possibility of reconciliation. I thought of Priscilla's voice on that recording. I'm tired of pretending to love him. There's nothing left to reconcile, I said flatly. That afternoon, I made a choice that was equal parts terrifying and freeing. I was going to confront Preston face to face. I found him at the gym where he worked part-time, training a businessman dressed in an overpriced tracksuit. I waited until the session ended, then walked up to him near the juice bar. "Preston Wade?" I asked. He turned, flashing that same arrogant smile I'd seen in the parking lot. "That's me. Do we know each other?" "I'm William Morgan," I said evenly. "Priscilla's husband." The smile vanished instantly. For the first time since I'd started watching him, Preston looked uneasy. "Look, man," he stammered. "I don't know what she told you, but she didn't tell me anything." I cut in. "I figured it out myself. Nice job with the financial schemes, by the way. Very professional." Color drained from his face. "I have no idea what you're talking about." I took out my phone and played a short clip, his voice saying, "The money transfers are untraceable. I made sure of that." His expression hardened. "You recorded us? That's illegal." "Actually, no," I replied calmly. "Colorado's a one-party consent state. As long as one person in the conversation knows, it's perfectly legal." "You're bluffing." I played another clip. "We can have you and Amelia out of there by the weekend." Preston's jaw tightened. "What do you want?" "I want you gone," I said. "Pack up, leave town, and never contact my wife or daughter again." He let out a sharp laugh with no trace of humor. "Or what? You'll take your little recordings to court? Good luck proving anything." "I don't need a judge," I said quietly. "I just need to send these recordings to your employer, your licensing board, and that woman from your last job, the one you paid off after the harassment complaint." All the blood drained from his face. "How did you?" "I'm an IT manager, Preston. I know how to find people, and I know how to make information spread fast." For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt in control. "You have until Monday," I said. "If you're still in town Tuesday, everyone in your professional circle will know who you really are." I turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and Preston, next time you try to steal a man's family, maybe don't leave such an obvious digital trail." The next morning brought an unexpected call. Rel, Priscilla's sister, sounded nervous. She asked to meet for coffee. "There's something you need to know about Priscilla and Preston," she said the moment we sat down at a corner table in Starbucks. "I'm listening." Rel twisted her cup nervously. "They have history, William. More than Priscilla's ever told you." My stomach sank. "What kind of history?" "They dated in college for 3 years. Preston was obsessive. When she broke it off, he stalked her for months. Campus security had to step in. The puzzle pieces fell into place. He was at our wedding, wasn't he?" Rel nodded miserably. "Priscilla invited him. Said they were just friends. I told her it was a mistake, but she didn't listen." "How long has this been going on now?" "Since last Christmas. He reached out on LinkedIn, said he'd changed. One thing led to another. 8 months. 8 months of deceit." "There's more," Rel said hesitantly. "Remember when Priscilla thought she was pregnant 5 years ago?" A chill went through me. She said it was a false alarm. It wasn't. She was pregnant, but lost the baby early. "William, she told me she wasn't sure if it was yours or Preston's." The world tilted. "What?" They'd had a brief affair then, too. I sat in stunned silence, absorbing the depth of her betrayal. "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because Preston called me yesterday. He wanted to know if I'd testify that you're an abusive father." My fists clenched. "And?" "I told him to go to hell." "William, you're a good man, a great father. Amelia adores you. I won't let them destroy that." "What did he ask you to say exactly?" "That you have anger issues. That Amelia's scared of you. That Priscilla confided in me about your violent temper, none of which is true." "Of course not," I said through gritted teeth. "But he's building a case," Rel warned. "He's got photos of you following them, recordings from the gym, trying to make you look unstable." I pulled out my phone and played her the diner recording. "Let him try? I've got my own evidence." She listened, and her face went white. "My God, they're actually planning to take Amelia." "Not if I stop them first," I said. "Rel, I need you to do something. If they ask you to testify, agree. But when you're on the stand, tell the truth. About his stalking, the pregnancy, everything." "You want me to lie to them?" "I want you to protect your niece." She nodded firmly. "Absolutely." As we stood to leave, Rel gripped my arm. "William, be careful. Preston isn't stable. When Priscilla dumped him back in college, he'd threatened to hurt himself and pin the blame on her. The guy was dangerous when things didn't go his way. Perfect. My wife had chosen to run off with a manipulative sociopath and planned to take our daughter with her. Monday morning carried a grim sense of inevitability. I'd spent the whole weekend preparing for the confrontation, and now the moment had come. Around noon, I called Priscilla at work. "We need to talk," I said. "Tonight, after Amelia goes to bed." "William, I'm busy." "It's not a request, Priscilla. We're talking tonight, or we're talking in front of lawyers tomorrow." That evening, once Amelia finished her homework and went to her room, Priscilla and I sat across from each other in the living room like two armies ready for war. "I know everything," I began. "The affair, the money transfers, the house in Colorado Springs, the plan to take Amelia." Her composure cracked immediately. "William, please, let me explain." "Explain what? That you've been plotting to kidnap our daughter? That you've been stealing from our savings? That you've been lying to me for months?" "It's not kidnapping if I'm her mother. It is when you plan to vanish without custody arrangements. And it's theft when you're using stolen money to fund it." She stood, pacing. "You don't understand. Preston and I have something real, something I never had with you." "Oh, you mean what you had with him 15 years ago, when he stalked you across campus?" Her face went pale. "Michelle told you," she whispered. "Michelle told me a lot. Like how Preston asked her to lie about me being abusive, or how you weren't sure if the baby you lost was mine or his." Priscilla sank back into her chair. "That was different. We were having problems. We were having problems because you were cheating, again." "You're right," she murmured. "I've made mistakes." "Mistakes?" I pulled out my phone and played the recording of her voice, saying she was tired of pretending to love me. "This isn't a mistake, Priscilla. This is betrayal, carefully planned and executed." She listened in silence, realizing the game was over. "What do you want?" "I want you to choose right now. Our family or Preston." "It's not that simple." "It's exactly that simple. Call him. Tell him it's over, or I'll file for divorce and full custody tomorrow morning." "You can't take Amelia from me. Watch me. I've got proof of your kidnapping plan, your financial theft, and your sister's testimony about Preston's past. And more importantly, Priscilla, I've got the truth. When a judge hears that recording of you saying you're tired of pretending to love me, when they see evidence of you stealing from Amelia's college fund to support your affair, who do you think they'll trust with custody?" Silence filled the room. "If I choose you," she asked softly, "how do I know you'll forgive me?" "You don't. But you know exactly what happens if you choose him." With shaking hands, she picked up her phone. As she dialed Preston, I felt a mix of triumph and sorrow. I'd saved my daughter and my future, but the woman I'd loved for 15 years was gone. The stranger sitting across from me only shared my last name. The call lasted 4 minutes. I listened as she told him it was over, that she was staying with her family, and that he needed to leave town. His reaction was exactly what I expected from a narcissist denied control. Anger, shouting, threats. "Preston, stop," Priscilla said firmly. "It's over. Don't call me again." She hung up, turning to me. "He's not just going to disappear, William. He's furious. Let him be. Angry people make mistakes." Preston made his first one 2 hours later when he showed up at our house. I was ready. When the doorbell rang, I opened it with my phone recording. "We need to talk," he said, forcing his way inside. "Actually, we don't," I replied. "You're trespassing. Leave now, or I'm calling the police." "You think you've won?" His tone was sharp, his composure gone. "You have no idea what you're dealing with." "I know exactly what I'm dealing with. A stalker, a fraud, and a coward who destroys other men's families because he can't build his own." Preston stepped closer, trying to intimidate me. "This isn't over, Morgan." "Yes, it is," I said, holding up my phone. "I've been recording this entire conversation. You just threatened me on my own property, in front of witnesses." Priscilla had come downstairs and was watching from the living room doorway. Amelia was upstairs, but I could hear her footsteps above us. "You've got 10 seconds to leave my house," I said firmly. "After that, I'm calling 911 and pressing charges for trespassing, harassment, and making terroristic threats." For a moment, I thought Preston might actually try to attack me. His fists were clenched, his face red with anger. But whatever plan was running through his mind told him the odds weren't in his favor. "This isn't over," he muttered, retreating toward the door. "Yes, it is," I said, following him. "And Preston, if you ever come near my family again, if you ever contact my wife or daughter, if you even drive down this street, I'll make sure everyone in your professional network knows exactly what kind of man you really are." He left without a word, tires squealing against the asphalt. When I returned inside, Priscilla sat on the couch, quietly crying. "Thank you," she whispered without looking up. "I didn't do it for you. I did it for Amelia." It was harsh, but it was the truth. The woman I had married was gone, replaced by someone unrecognizable. We could perhaps rebuild something new, but it would never be what we once had. That night, for the first time in months, I slept peacefully. My daughter was safe, our home secure, and the threat neutralized. I learned something vital about myself. When everything I cared about was under threat, I wasn't a passive, trusting husband anymore. I was a fighter. 6 months later, I sat in a downtown coffee shop reviewing project specs for a new client. TechFlow had promoted me to senior IT manager after I successfully overhauled their security infrastructure, a project I threw myself into once the situation with Priscilla and Preston was resolved. Amelia was thriving. She'd made the honor roll 3 quarters in a row and joined the school robotics team. More importantly, she seemed genuinely happy for the first time in over a year. Kids can sense stability at home. Her school counselor had told me. Children are remarkably perceptive about family stress. Technically, Priscilla and I were still married, but we lived more like roommates than spouses. She had started therapy to understand how she became so susceptible to manipulation, and I was seeing a counselor as well, working through betrayal and rebuilding my ability to trust. You can't rebuild 15 years of trust in a few months, my therapist reminded me. The financial damage had been serious, but not catastrophic. Most of the stolen money was recovered through insurance claims and legal action against Preston's accounts. He left town the day after our confrontation and hadn't been heard from since. Michelle, unexpectedly, became an ally, helping bridge the gap between Priscilla and me during family gatherings and providing crucial testimony about Preston's past. "I should have told you sooner," she said once. "I thought Priscilla would come to her senses on her own. We all make choices based on the information we have." "The important thing," I replied, "is that you did the right thing when it mattered." As for Priscilla and me, we took things one day at a time. Some days were better than others. She worked hard to rebuild my trust, and I worked hard to forgive her. Whether we would ultimately stay together remained uncertain. But I learned something valuable from the ordeal. I was stronger than I'd imagined, more capable of protecting what mattered, and no longer blaming myself for choices others made. The old William would have wondered what he did wrong to drive his wife away. The new William understood that some people make decisions that have nothing to do with you. And sometimes the best thing you can do is protect yourself and those you love from the consequences. I finished my coffee and headed home. Amelia had a soccer game, and I promised to help her practice penalty kicks before dinner. Life wasn't perfect, but it was honest. After months of lies and deception, honesty felt like a luxury I would never take for granted again. My phone buzzed with a text from Amelia. "Dad, can we get pizza after my game tonight?" I smiled and replied, "Absolutely. Extra cheese. You know me so well. Love you, Dad." "Love you too, kiddo," she responded. Some things are worth fighting for, and some battles, when fought with intelligence and determination, are actually won.